All right. So our first review of the day is going to be for a film called F1, the movie. So you know it's the movie there. About F1. So what is this movie about? F1 is about a Formula One driver there who is Brad Pitt there, who is a washed up has been. There, his best days, as they keep saying throughout this movie over and over again. It's like you were a could have been. Like, you could have been huge. You could have been big. You could have been successful, but now you're just a nobody and you're doing all these other different races, trying to stay relevant. And that's kind of the best you got. You know, you could have been one of the best people in this sport of F1, but you messed up your opportunity there. And now you're just kind of a has been. But it's about him kind of coming out of retirement there because they need his help mentoring and training a younger driver who's on the up and up here. Joshua Pierce, who's played by Damien's Idris there. People might know Damien's Idris. He was in Snowfall. That was a big TV series there. He was in that series for a minute, and he's starting to come up a lot more now, being in a lot more movies now. And yeah, he's the hot shot kind of rookie F1 driver there. He's part of this F1 team that is at the bottom of the bottom. They always kind of come in last, and they're looking for that next step to kind of push them over the edge and to kind of put them into competition there. This is directed by Joseph Kosinski there, who came off of his previous film, who did Top Gun Maverick, which was a massive hit, massive success, billion-dollar movie, one of the most talked about movies of 2022. Dad movie, maybe if you did a list of dad movies of the 21st century, Top Gun Maverick would be that. And with this movie F1, it's kind of aiming to be that same thing as well. With this kind of a movie for middle-aged men, for the dad kind of crowd. We'll let you know, kind of get into that. But get your thoughts on this, Chris. What are your thoughts on F1?
My thoughts are this movie ended up being a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. I, like a lot of people, really loved Top Gun Maverick. I think it's the best movie that Joseph Kosinski has made by far. And looking at the trailers for this, I'm like, this could be fun, but it kind of feels almost like a sort of cynical, like lateral move where it's like, oh, what I did for flying around in jets, I'm going to try to do again for driving around in race cars. And when I saw that Aaron Kruger was listed as the writer, I was immediately like, oh, God, no. Like, this guy is like the kiss of death in terms of like working screenwriters right now. But I heard that the word of mouth was good, so I decided to go and give it a shot. And I came out of the movie on such a fucking high. Like, it is very much like the classic sort of underdog sports story. And it has the sort of typical guy who a lot of people say is over the hill coming in and proving that he's still got the juice. It's structured very similarly to Maverick in terms of that way, and in terms of the old guy trying to teach the young guy how to go about doing the thing and how to like perfect sort of the craft. And there's also a love story in there, him trying to work with the whole team and get them to come together to accomplish this one goal. But I think what makes it work is that it does still have like a really strong energy to it that keeps it from feeling stale. And I think the cast also plays a huge part of it. Like their charisma, like all piled together, I think really makes most, if not every single scene in this movie really sing than it might have with lesser actors. Like especially Brad Pitt, like he's always going to be compelling when he's on screen. Even if the movie sucks, he's usually going to hold it together. Javier Bardem as sort of the boss who brings him in, I think is really, really doing some strong work. Carrie Condon, who's more of a character actress and is sort of like the chief technician on the team, I think really, really makes a strong impression here. And yeah, Damson Idris, who I'm not really familiar with. If I've seen him in anything like any movies or whatever, then I wouldn't recognize him from those. I never watched Snowfall, but he really, really impressed me here. He makes the character somebody that you don't mind following, even when he's being a jackass to Brad Pitt, because he makes the jackassery sort of charismatic enough to where like you are willing to go along with him and see like how his arc sort of plays out. And I think every racing scene in this movie is like top notch shit. Like what they did in Maverick, like they do again here, and it's super, super effective. Like game, like mind blowing shit that they do.
Yeah. Did you see it in IMAX?
Yes, I did.
Wow. I'm jealous. I wish I would have saw it in IMAX. I think this is a movie that you should see in IMAX if you do have the opportunity to do it, because it does a great job at putting you in the seat of the car there. Every kind of rumble, engine roaring. It does a great job at that. The sound also. So if you actually do see this IMAX, I think it will like increase your experience. And then if you can, I don't know if you want to spend more money, see it in IMAX 4D, maybe 4DX if you do see it there, that may increase the experience more. But yeah, I mean, just even not seeing an IMAX, you can just feel the rumble of the vehicles there on the racetrack, which was really great. And I think, yeah, like you said, Joseph Kosinski, what he did for the planes and the plane sequences of Top Gun Maverick, he does it here with the kind of racing sequences in F1. And we've seen a lot of racing movies before. I mean, did you see Gran Turismo? Did you see that?
No, I missed that one.
Okay. Did you see? You must have seen Ford v Ferrari too, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. How do you think it compares to kind of other racing movies, like maybe something like Ford v Ferrari or Rush, if you've seen that? How do you think it kind of compares, or that other movie with Adam Driver? It was just called Ferrari, right? Um,
Right, that's another one I didn't see, but I did see Ford v Ferrari, and I did see Rush, and yeah, I think this is probably my favorite racing movie in general that I've seen since Rush. Like that was the last one that really sort of gave me a similar charge in terms of like putting me in the seat of the car and making me feel like I'm there as the car is like speeding along the track, and like there's danger that it could crash at like any moment. Like getting that tension across, but also giving you that sort of charge that you could plausibly get if you were the one driving the car that fast and had like as much of a chance of winning as these drivers do. And yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know how they filmed these scenes without on the crew getting run over, or getting killed, or whatever. Like, this must have been they must have shot like so much footage of all these cars and just editing it all together into one cohesive whole to where you can track what's going on as the race is happening. Like, I can't imagine what it must have been like to put this all together, but the end result I think is fantastic. It's so expertly put together and filmed. And yeah, I think there's a good argument to be made in terms of this movie possibly having the greatest racing scenes put to film. There's some strong competition. Like I mentioned, Rush, I think, was sort of like the last like major like watermark movie in terms of like, wow, there's racing stuff in this that I've never seen in a racing movie before. And I think this is a strong competitor for that title.
Mm. Yeah, I'd have to think. I'd have to go back and watch some more racing movies to think where I would kind of land on this one. But at the moment, I think, yeah, like you said, this is maybe possibly a contender for the strongest racing scenes put to film there, and kind of it revitalizes it in a way. And speaking about Gran Turismo, I like Gran Turismo. It actually surprised me. It was a video game adaptation movie. How kind of well that was decent it was there. But kind of, I feel like what F1 does for racing and kind of the way it's shot is kind of what Ryan Coogler did for Creed in the boxing sequences, where we've seen old boxing sequences done many, many times before, but there was a way that Ryan Coogler was able to do it in a way to kind of really put you in the ring in the way it was shot that really was, I think, revitalized it and kind of added so much to it. And I think F1 does kind of Joseph Kosinski does the same thing with F1 here. Um, and it does have a very, like you said, the rookie and the vet dynamic there. That's a very old and tired dynamic we've seen many, many times, especially in many sports movies before, where the vet has to kind of come in and then show the rookie the ropes, and they clash initially, but then they grow closer. I mean, we've seen that dynamic before, but I think with the veteran nature of Brad Pitt, and then also the great charming nature of both of them, of Brad Pitt and Damius Idris, it works. It doesn't feel so tired. It doesn't feel so kind of exhausting to watch them go back and forth with each other. And also, just a great supporting cast of this movie as well. You mentioned Carrie Condon in there, who's in this as well. She does really great. Um, I know some people are complaining about the love story in it. Did you think that was necessary? Did you not think it was necessary? What do you think there?
Um, I wouldn't argue that it's not necessary. Like, if you could cut a plot line, I think that would be the one to cut. But I liked her performance. I thought thought she was really charismatic, and I liked her chemistry with Pitt and Bardem and Idris and everybody else. To where when those scenes came up, I wasn't really complaining at all. I was like, "Wow, this chick's cool. Like, I'm happy to see her in this and bouncing off of all the other actors." So yeah, I ultimately didn't really have anything to complain about with that.
Mm, yeah. So in Javier Bardem, you mentioned him. I also think he's really great in this. And I think he works really well. But yeah, I think when those racing sequences happen, they are so very impressive there, and I think that's the real kind of bulk of the movie and core of the movie that really works a lot. At first, I was kind of worried because like it seemed like during the first couple of racing sequences, it was like they would do a bunch of rock music with it, and it would kind of overpower like the maybe some of the dialogue and actual kind of motion of the vehicle there and kind of that feel of things because they play like ACDC and some other kind of songs there. So I was kind of worried that they would do that every single time. But no, they don't do that. So I thought I was very good that they didn't do that. But yeah, like you said, making you really, I mean, like you said, look at these scenes in here, the tight kind of way that the cars are, that they present the danger there as well with doing something like this, which I thought was very interesting as well. Yeah. How would you kind of compare it to something like, I mean, him following up such a big movie like Top Gun Maverick there?
What I would say is that, like I said, it's very similar in structure and general plotting to Maverick. It doesn't quite have the emotional core that I think Maverick had in terms of like, one, it's not a sequel to another movie, and Maverick I think sort of had a bit of an advantage in that it was following a movie that people have known about and loved for almost 3 decades, and bringing a sort of new dramatic weight to itself in terms of carrying stuff over from that, and in terms of the guilt that Maverick Cruz's character feels for the death of Goose and how he has to deal with his relationship with Goose's son, played by Miles Teller, in that movie. I think that sort of gave it helped give it an extra oomph that kept it going when there weren't flying sequences happening. This has to sort of establish that from the ground up. Like, it doesn't have another movie preceding it that it can sort of like advance any storyline or character from in order to give it that heft. And I think that I could see that maybe turning people off, but I thought they did a good enough job with this movie in terms of getting all these characters and their dynamics established like right off the bat with each other and getting you interested in where they're possibly going across the course of the movie, that it ultimately like wasn't a detriment to the movie in my eyes, at least.
Mm, yeah. Um, I when so at the box office right now, so it has a budget of 200, 300 million. Box office 144 million right now. Like I said, with Top Gun Maverick, it had the benefit of being like a legacy sequel and surprising the hell out of people and everything like that. So this doesn't have that benefit there, but I still think it's a strong movie. And I still think that it'll do pretty strong in the box office. And if you're looking for, like I said at the beginning of the review, a dad type movie there, much like something like Ford v Ferrari was, much like something like Rush was, dads who are really into the cars and everything like that. Plus, with the soundtrack of this movie as well, like I mentioned, the old school kind of rock music that's in here as well. I think that'll appeal to that kind of crowd of people. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid film here. For all the reasons that we mentioned there, for the way that this kind of is, from the strong performances here. Brad Pitt's always going to be cool, calm, collected. Brad Pitt, you know what I mean? He's always going to do that in one of his movies, and that works really well here. Damon Idris, look forward to see the rest of his career. I think he's got a bright career there, and seeing him do some other things there. Good supporting cast, and star of the show being these racing sequences and how they're shot there. Um, Probably going to get nominated for a lot of the stuff kind of going here, just the effects wise, and just kind of work here, what they do with the vehicles and everything like that. The sound in this movie is really great. So yeah, I would give it a tune in for me, a good strong tune in. What about for you?
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a tune in. This is the textbook definition of a movie theater experience. Like, I wonder if this will have the same level of impact at home. It could. I could see it. Like, that's always the fear with these movies that play so well on the biggest screen imaginable, surrounded by people, is that there's always a fear that you might lose that with this movie. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure it'll happen, but Yeah, I definitely, at the very least, if you're going to see this movie, it definitely make sure to see it in the theater.
Yeah. See it in IMAX if you can, if you have the ability to see it in IMAX, and even 4DX maybe if you want to spend the extra money. Like I said, yeah, I think it is worth it. I think it does benefit to see this movie in one of those things. Like just seeing like a Mission Impossible movie, I think it enhances the experience to see it in one of those type of formats. Um,
Yeah, Mission Impossible, this most recent one, I think is an example of a movie that will not play nearly as well watching it at home.
yeah. So yeah, yeah. So two strong tune ins for F